This is Abe Friedtanzer from Awards Buzz, and I'm very excited to be speaking with Hoa Xuande about the Sympathizer. How are you, Hoa? Of
Abe, I'm good. Thanks for having me. Yeah.
course, I saw the first episode of the show, and I didn't know much about it. I just thought it sounds a little interesting, and I was pretty blown away. Can you tell me about your journey to starring in it?
Yeah. Look, I answered the global casting audition notice that was going around the world at the time. This is all the way back in 2022. No, sorry, 2020. Hang on, what year are we in anymore? I don't even remember. It was 2022. That's it. It was in January 2022. And yeah, I put in my first tape then, and I guess, crossed my fingers and hoped for the best. And then 2 weeks later, I got a call back, and that set me on the journey of like multiple callbacks for the next 9 months. And then, I would Zoom with director Park eventually, and then, Don, the showrunner, and then I would be flown to Korea 7 months down the line. And then, by August, it was like they saw me again for the final time in LA. And every time I had a callback, it was months in between where I'd hear nothing and I'd be going crazy and just thinking whether I'd blown the audition or not.
What did you know about the book and the story in general?
Yeah. So I actually read the book. I began to read the book 2 years prior to auditioning for the show. And it was just something that I found on Google. Like I was in New Zealand at the time shooting another project, and I just wanted to read up on things. And I found this book in a library through Google. And I read the first three chapters, and it really took me away because the first three chapters is really what the first episode is based on. And it's devastating and it's traumatic. And I remembered just wanting to revisit that after, you know, reading the novel, but I flew back from New Zealand and got on with my life and forgot to pick it up again until this audition notice came around. Yeah.
Well, while there certainly are moments that are devastating and traumatic, overall, I think the show is actually quite entertaining. How do you
Yeah.
think it does in balancing that tone of some very serious events
Yeah.
with some real humor?
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? It's just like, I think at the end of the day, like dark humor and black comedy is really sort of the mechanism in which we express the dark and deep depths of trauma and devastation. And there's a lot of observations through the captain's eyes, obviously, that draw on these, you know, funny, sarcastic, hilarious, similarities between, I guess, you know, the way we do things and the way we operate to the things that actually eventuate in terms of war. Uh, yeah, I'm trying to describe it in a way that it's just like at the end of the day, humans deal with deep tragedy with a sense of humor because it's a coping mechanism and it's a way in which we can shed light on things, and it's a way we can relate to each other and actually keep laughing and keep surviving because it is so devastating. Yeah.
What do you like most about the captain? And is there anything that you found difficult to either relate to or just portray?
Um, yeah, he was such a fun character to play because it, I was given the opportunity to play a character that really goes through the gamut of emotions. I'm hiding, I'm playing this double allegiance, type of a character because I'm a spy, but I'm also able to really express my vulnerability in moments to try and capture the love that I have for my friends, and obviously Miss Maury, played by Sandra Oh. And then I'm also just allowed to have this fun with this antagonistic force with Robert Downey Jr., and then I get to yell and scream and run around the forest with a weapon. So, you know, I took that experience through playing this character just with so much, I don't know, like uh with so much it just felt like everything that I've always wanted to do as an actor. But yeah, something that I've learned, I guess, in through playing this character is that, like, we all are trying we're all striving to do the right thing, I think, as human beings, but we all always get caught up in the obstacles of life. And so you just have to remember that a lot of the time people are just struggling and we're trying to do the right thing, but we just get caught up in things sometimes. Yeah.
Well, Robert Downey Jr. is certainly a lot of fun to watch. What is it like acting opposite him, especially with so many different incarnations?
Yeah, in particular, the last scene of I think the third episode where you've got the four Robert Downey Jr. sitting at the table at the steakhouse. That was just a really fun day to shoot because even Robert himself can't quite remember which character he is in that moment, and it took us 3 days to shoot that scene, and he's got like a million characters pouring out of him at once, but we could only write 4 or 5 of these characters into the script, and it's just amazing to watch, like, this professional at work, because he really, I asked him what his method was, and he's always been able to draw on real people from his own life into these characters, and so there's a semblance of someone that he knows in his life in each of these characters, and he's just playing around with trying to figure out how to make these people real, as well as motivated, and someone that I could potentially play off. And he keeps things fun and interesting and fresh in that way that reminds me to keep things alive as well in a scene.
What can you share about Sandra as a co-star?
Yeah, Sandra is as like bubbly and as fun and lively as she is on screen, as she is in real life. Like, she is just a really good energy and a warm energy to be around, but she also just stood by me. She was really supportive and generous in the way that, when you're this sort of new actor, or it was my first major leading role in a big production, but she kind of understood the gravity of that task, and she just stood by me and supported me in the ways that, like, if I ever felt like I was not able to do something or speak out on behalf of something, or wasn't sure if I could, speak directly to a certain part of the production, she would just stand up on my behalf and say those things for me. So I really appreciated that from her.
What
Mm.
was the experience of working with Park Chan-wook like?
Yeah, Director Park is just, he's a revered, author in his own right. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's garnered such a huge global following because he's such a master of his craft. And to, I've seen all these movies now, and watching the specificity in which he crafts his scenes, and he shoots his frames, I knew that I was going to be really challenged working on the set with him and this production with him. So, when I first came onto the set, I was really unsure of myself, but I was really kind of doubting my choices and really not sure if I could really live up to, this master. But he made me, he really imbues you with confidence. He really tries to instill you with that ability to be confident in your choices that you make uh in his scenes. So yeah, after working with him for like a good 6 7 months, it really gave me the ability to understand how he crafts his shows, and gave me the ability to feel like we could telepathically sort of connect to each other in terms of scene work and stuff like that. And then by the end we were just doing one take, so it was great.
How have people in your own life responded to the show?
Yeah, I brought my parents actually to the premiere, and because I wanted to see their reaction to this story being reflected back to them. And yeah, like, I think they were really just enthralled. They were really overwhelmed by the response. Obviously, sitting in a theater full of, like, hundreds of people, but just seeing, especially in the last few minutes of the end of episode one, like the fall of Saigon, because they were there in their 20s watching this on TV, and so to see them get emotional about it, um, it really made me feel like we had done a good job, that we had really tried to, as best as we could, accurately tell this part of that history. Um, So I'm proud of that, and I'm sure they were very proud of us for doing that. Yeah.
Great. Well, here at Awards Buzz, we love awards, and I'm always curious to ask people I'm talking to what shows or performances you've seen recently that have stood out to you as particularly awards worthy.
Yeah, oh, that's a great question. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of Emma Stone. I loved her in Poor Things, and I couldn't think of uh, an award more deserving for her in that role. So good on her. But also something that's really stuck with me for a while now is after watching Anatomy of a Fall, and I think watching Sandra Huller's performance in that was just so like it was just so real, and it just made me think, wow, that is the level of craft and performance that I would love to be able to step up into if I was given the opportunity. So yeah, someone who I also really admire from watching that movie. But then, there's so many TV shows with so many good performances at the moment where I've only just started to watch even Andrew Scott in Ripley, and I'm amazed at what he's doing, so you know and and you've got Richard Gadd, who's written this story about a part of his life that and it's really gotten the world to talk about these themes and topics that sometimes we shy away from. And I think that's really cool that he's been able to craft a part of his life into a TV show that's been so resonant with so many people. Yeah, I could keep going, but I just think that there's so many performances on TV and film at the moment that are really hitting home, and especially with me as well.
After the big success of the show, what's next?
Yeah, look, I'm just playing it by ear. I would love to be able to tell a story of similar quality to The Sympathizer, simply because, when I started being an actor, like or wanting to have a career in this, I wanted to chase roles that were uh, thought-provoking, would deeply move people, that would hopefully change people's perspectives. And so, having the opportunity to do that on The Sympathizer was something that I've always dreamed of doing. And so, if I could chase those roles, um, after this, then I would feel like I'd be doing what I've always set out to do. But look, I'd love to have the opportunity to work with, say, the Denny Villeneuve, who just obviously directed all the Dunes recently, but I, was really captivated by his work, The Arrival, because I love that he just crafts these worlds and gets you immersed in these sort of ideas and themes of, fighting and but also trying to cooperate and understanding each other and all that sort of stuff. And then, to Christopher Nolan, who really conceptualizes big ideas. And that's the sort of stuff that I'm really into: high concept thinking, big ideas, trying to fit myself into a world where I can really explore, philosophically things that I've never really thought about. And then if I could have the honor of being in one of Tarantino's films, that would be awesome as well. Because I love the way he scripts, and I love the way he puts characters into like long, long ass scenes, and makes it so captivating. So yeah.
I think you have great taste, and I hope all of those ambitions come to fruition. It's been
Yeah.
such a
Just to name a
pleasure.
few, I could keep
No,
going.
of course. Well, thank you so much for taking some time, and I look forward to seeing what you do next.
Great. Thanks, Abe. Thanks for having me.